The emergency klaxons screamed through station threshold 9, their piercing wail cutting through the artificial night cycle, like a blade through flesh. Commander Vraxel's four eyes widened in horror as he stared at the surveillance feeds, his chitinous mandibles clicking in distress. "Impossible," he hissed, his translator struggling to convey the depth of his panic. The Cubs. They've vanished. 3 hours earlier, Sergeant Sarah had been walking her usual patrol route through the station's outer ring, her boots making soft thuds against the metal grating. Perched on her right shoulder, as he had been for the past 6 months, was Kex, a juvenile Thraxian predator no bigger than a house cat. Though infinitely more deadly by galactic standards, Kex's species was feared across 17 sectors. Adult Thraxians stood 9 feet tall, possessed retractable claws that could slice through reinforced steel, and hunting instincts so refined they could track prey across star systems. Their cubs were considered sacred, and the loss of even one could trigger diplomatic incidents that toppled governments. Sarah reached up absently, scratching behind Kex's triple-ridged ears. The cub purred, a sound like distant thunder, and nuzzled against her neck. "Comfortable up there?" she asked, smiling. Kex chirped, his crystalline eyes reflecting the corridor lights. To anyone else, the sound would have triggered primal terror, a predator's call. To Sarah, it was just Kex being himself. The other species on the station had stopped questioning the arrangement months ago. Humans, they had learned, possessed an inexplicable ability to befriend creatures that should have torn them apart. Sarah had found Kex during a border skirmish, separated from his pack and injured. While her alien colleagues had maintained a careful 50-meter distance, Sarah had simply walked up to the terrified cub and offered him ration bars. "You coming with me, little guy?" she had asked that day. Kex had been on her shoulder ever since. As Sarah rounded the corner into Section 7 Delta, she noticed something wrong. The atmospheric processors were humming at the wrong frequency. She tapped her comm unit. "Control, this is Sarah. Something's off in 7 Delta. Request engineering sweep." Static answered her. Kex's ears flattened against his skull, and a low growl rumbled from his chest. Sarah's hand instinctively moved to her sidearm. In her months with Kex, she had learned to trust his instincts absolutely. The shadows moved. What emerged wasn't listed in any known database. Biomechanical horrors, a fusion of flesh and technology that shouldn't exist, skittered across the walls on too many legs. Their sensor arrays locked onto Sarah and Kex with predatory focus. "Well," Sarah muttered, "that's new." The creatures attacked as one. Sarah's training kicked in immediately. She dove behind a support pillar, her plasma rifle already firing. Superheated bolts carved through the darkness, and 2 of the creatures exploded in showers of sparking viscera. But there were dozens more. Kex leaped from her shoulder, transforming midair from adorable companion into whirling death. His claws extended, each one gleaming like polished obsidian. He moved with a speed that made him nearly invisible, his small body somehow intercepting attacks meant for Sarah, while simultaneously shredding through their enemies. Sarah fought with the brutal efficiency that made humans so terrifying to the galaxy. While other species relied on superior technology or natural advantages, humans possessed something more dangerous: adaptability, creativity, and an absolute refusal to surrender. She grabbed a maintenance torch from the wall and ignited it, using the flame to create a perimeter while her rifle recharged. When a creature lunged at her from above, she didn't flinch. She grabbed it mid-flight, used its momentum to slam it into another attacker, and finished both with point-blank shots. Kex chirped urgently. More were coming. "Yeah, I see them, buddy," Sarah grunted, reloading.
"How about we don't die today?"
She noticed the atmospheric processor access panel. A desperate plan formed in her mind, the kind of insane gambit that only a human would attempt. "Kex." "To me." The cub bounded back to her shoulder as Sarah sprinted toward the panel. She ripped it open, her fingers flying across the emergency controls. The creatures were seconds behind them. Sarah reversed the atmospheric flow. The corridor became a wind tunnel. The sudden decompression didn't affect the sealed sections, but in 7 Delta, every loose object became a projectile. The biomechanical horrors, not designed for such conditions, were torn apart by their own mass and velocity. In the chaos, Sarah grabbed Kex and sealed them both in an emergency shelter pod, just as the section's blast doors slammed shut, containing the disaster. Silence fell. Sarah checked Kex over carefully. You okay, little monster? Kex chirped affirmatively, then sneezed, covering her face with bioluminescent mucus. Gross, dude. Really gross. That's when Commander Vraxel and his security team finally breached the section, weapons raised, expecting carnage. Instead, they found Sarah sitting cross-legged in the pod, covered in various fluids, playing a string game with an utterly delighted Kex. Sergeant Sarah, Vraxel's voice was strangled. The entire station went into lockdown. Sensors showed 7 Delta compromised. We detected massive life signs, extinct life signs. We feared the cubs, just Kex, Sarah corrected, standing up. The cub remained on her shoulder, now grooming his claws with remarkable focus. And we're fine. Ran into some kind of biomechanical infestation. Cleared it out. Vraxel looked at the corridor behind the blast doors. The walls were scored with plasma fire and claw marks. Pieces of unknown creatures littered the floor. The atmospheric processor was completely destroyed. You cleared it out, he repeated faintly. Yeah. Sarah shrugged, then winced. Gonna need a new section, though. And possibly medical attention. Pretty sure I'm bleeding from somewhere. As the medical team rushed forward, Vraxel watched Sarah and Kex. The cub was now batting playfully at her hair, completely unconcerned with the carnage surrounding them. The commander made a mental note to update his reports. The human ability to adopt deadly predators wasn't just a curiosity, it was a survival trait. Sarah and Kex hadn't vanished into danger. They had become the danger. And in a galaxy full of threats, that was exactly what humanity needed to be.